Life keeps us constantly plugged in, with endless notifications, instant answers, and non-stop noise. In the middle of it all, many believers feel more disconnected from God than ever before. In the book, Experience Jesus, Really, New York Times bestselling author John Eldredge invites readers to step away from the chaos and rediscover what it means to truly encounter Jesus, not as a distant figure, but as a real, present, and life-giving friend.
John Eldredge has written many great books. I've read an awful lot of them, and I am so glad he is here to talk about his book, Experience Jesus, Really. John, welcome back to the program.
Oh, I'm so honored to be with you.
I'm thrilled. Let's talk about screens, time, the internet, so entwined in our lives. You describe in the book that we're disciples of the internet. So how does this keep us from experiencing God on a daily basis?
Right. It's not the content that we're searching for. It's what the process has taught us over time. For one thing, it's made our souls very impatient. Because you Google something, the proper temperature to bake your dinner or the ADHD treatment for kids, you get instant answers. But God doesn't work like that. And our souls have been conditioned to expect instant answers everywhere else. So why not with God? So we actually are being discipled away from experiencing what it means to just sit with and be with our loving God.
So how do we break free from this? I mean, how a lot of us are in this situation. I know you don't believe in steps, right? But you say there can be some danger in that. But since we're on this topic, what's a good way out of that type of thinking?
Yeah, the invitation is to learn again the ancient practice of simply lingering in the presence of God and opening our hearts back up like little children. You remember Jesus took a child and stood, the child in their midst and said, unless you become like a little child, you can't enter the kingdom of God. All the beautiful stories that you all have been telling today on the show of people experiencing Jesus. This is meant to be our normal. Everything described in the scriptures is meant to be available to every person, but we need a little help getting out of the madness of our hour and back into the simple practices of learning to linger in the presence of God, learning to hear his voice, and especially to receive his care.
John, in your book, Experience Jesus, Really, you use a term over and over that some people may be a little scared of or freaked out by, mystic, the ordinary mystic. Talk about that. What do you mean?
Sometimes you have to use startling words to get people out of the white noise, right? Because if I say, hey, you all ought to have a quiet time, we've just heard it too many times. There is a tradition in the history of the church of very holy, beautiful men and women who later historians called the mystics. They didn't call themselves that. They just called themselves friends of Jesus. And they wrote to us about their prayer life and about their experiences of God. Everything from deep, deep inner healing of trauma to just the simple loveliness of his guidance each day. So I'm using the word ordinary mystics because it's not just for the special, it's not for the few, the big saints, it's for everyone. And mystics because we've got to get out of this overdeveloped left brain approach, highly rational, highly critical approach to our faith and get back to the union and communion that everyone is invited into with Jesus.
I know you don't know the faith walk of everybody watching, but you believe, by what you state in your book, that there is a deeper level of communion with Jesus than many of us experience. Maybe do people just not know it's there?
Well, it's two things. Yes, part of this is a failure of discipleship in our hour, that we did not teach men and women the simple practices of communing with Jesus and experiencing him. So that's why people like me write books to kind of help people back onto the path. But again, part of it is what's happened to us because of the pace of life and the multitude of distractions. What I'm suggesting is very simple, is that you start with 5 minutes a day, just 5 minutes, where you create sacred space to just be with God. And it's not content, and you're not busy studying. You're just learning to linger in the presence of God, who is with you all the time and is in you. So if we just start with a little bit of sacred space and learn to practice his presence, one day you'll look up and you'll go, oh, that was 10 minutes. And then the next time you go, oh, that was 20 minutes. And you'll begin to just love experiencing the presence of Jesus with you. And then, as Paul says in Ephesians, and within you.
John, talk about another key part of your book, Psalm 91, and the Lord being our refuge. That theme really comes through, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was originally going to title the book Refuge because if you've seen, and you guys have reported on this, the rising anxiety rates in the world today, particularly among young people. And I don't think it's because those people are weak. I think they are the canary in the coal mine. I think they're showing us the world is a punishing place on the human soul. So we have these rising rates of anxiety. And you have the great refuge psalms like Psalm 91 of learning to actually take shelter in the presence of the living God. And it said, the word says, you will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. The rest, the anxiety goes down, the security that the human soul feels in the presence of God. So yeah, I do a lot of work through the book, and there's guided prayers, there's guided reflections. This is an actual experience. The psalmists were not just trying to be poetic. They were telling you about their actual experiences of refuge in Jesus Christ and in God their Father. When David says, I have experienced your love, he is telling you what's available if we will take refuge in him.
How did you cultivate this sense of wonder about Jesus? Like, what was your journey there?
Yeah, so it begins with the journey of the heart, that you do begin to open up the heart again to the God who loves you. And that includes all your heartaches and your fears as well. He wants all of it. You know, Revelation 3, I'm knocking at the door, open your heart and soul to me. And then for me, it was learning to unplug. Like I only take in a little bit of, social media each day. I just take in a little bit of new content because I need to protect the time that I do have. We're all busy to cultivate intimacy with Christ. And it's just like anything else in life. You're learning to ride a bike or read a book, drive a car. You learn over time and it gets better and better. And now I just want to say, Psalm 63 used to baffle me when David says, I've seen you. You're so beautiful. Your love is better than life. I thought, well, that's lovely. I don't know that. I can tell you I know it now. I know it to be true. And I also know, I've been a Christian therapist for 35 years. This is available to every human being.
John, last question, kind of a commentary. I mean, your book, your famous book, I read it years ago, Wild at Heart, I believe is the title, correct? Really about men, what men need, what men want. It really helps men understand themselves, I think. That was such a kind of a masculine, macho approach in your writing. This is very reflective, and it talks about wonder and mysticism. How have you come to that point in your change of approach in what you're writing?
Well, it's both and. Right? It's not a change. It's warrior poets, right? As the old expression would be. It's David's life, right? David was a very brave, very courageous warrior, king, leader. But you read the Psalms and you get to read his journals. It's his inner life. And see, we bring these things together. We live with courage in the world, and we live with a rich intimacy with God. And so, yeah, we continue to teach men how to be wholehearted. In a way, it's bringing both sides of your brain together. Yes, left brain, critical reasoning, you bet. Right brain is actually where love comes from and joy. We're just teaching people, and men in particular, to be more whole, more wholehearted.
Yeah, I want to thank John for being with us today and encourage you to grab your copy of Experience Jesus, really finding refuge, strength, and wonder through everyday encounters with God. And to find out more about John and his other amazing works, visit his website, wildatheart.org. And John, thank you for helping us evolve as people and as men. Appreciate you joining us today.
So grateful for you and what you do.